Well, welcome back, everyone, to Her Best Outcome. We are live on Facebook. Welcome back, Facebook. Thank you for being here with us today. Today is Tuesday, so remember, before you lawyer up, listen up, because this is our Before You Lawyer Up, Listen Up show. Today is Tuesday, Her Best Outcome, empowering women through financial clarity before legal chaos. That is our topic today. Welcome. My name is Michelle Rawls. I am a holistic functional nutritionist and nurse, and I am part of the best ecosystem. We believe there's a better way to navigate separation. Our mission is simple. It's financial clarity before legal chaos. So every Tuesday, we focus on the unique financial, emotional, and practical challenges that women face before, during, and after separation. Through education, collaboration, and trusted professionals, we help women become informed, empowered, and confident as they navigate one of life's biggest financial transitions. Today, I am joined by an incredible panel of women from Canada and the United States who are passionate about helping others move from uncertainty to confidence with clarity, compassion, and practical solutions. All right, so before we get started this morning, I want to introduce everyone who has joined us this morning. So, if you will take a moment when I call your name and give us, who you are and what you do, just really briefly, take less than, 30 seconds if you can, and then we'll start our conversation today for everyone out here. So, Ms. Lynn Lionhood, would you like to tell everyone who you are?
Lynn Lyon, who with Legal Shield and ID Shield, and I help you navigate all those legal messes and try to make it all as simple as I possibly can and protect your identity.
Thank you so much, Lynn. And Ms. Elizabeth Maffei, would you like to introduce yourself?
I'd be honored to. Hi, everyone. I'm Reverend Elizabeth Gifford Maffei, and I work in the emotional realm when we're going through challenges such as this. There is a way to navigate through that where you are calm and clear and confident. Thank you.
Thanks, Elizabeth. Ms. Seema, would you like to introduce yourself?
Thank you so much, Michelle. Yes, I am a financial professional helping people get financial clarity about how to protect their money, grow their money, and have a wonderful retirement where they do not have any financial anxiety, however long they live, and they can protect their family and leave a legacy that their family can always enjoy. So I take great pride in what I do. And thank you for inviting me over here and for making me a part of the best outcome. Thank you.
Well, thank you for being here, Seema. We appreciate you. Ms. Diane Rosso, would you like to introduce yourself?
Thank you, Michelle. Diane Rosso, a health detox strategist. I help people clear out the toxins in their system so that the body can heal itself. And when we're under chronic issues, chronic illness, it's sucking a large portion of the financial income. So we help alleviate on both in both categories.
Thank you so much. I appreciate you, Diane. Ms.
Mhm.
Carly Tugas, would you like to introduce yourself?
Yeah, so my name is Carly Tukis. I help moms go from overwhelmed to calmness.
All right. Thank you so much for being here with us today. Ms. Joyce Zilzak, would you like to introduce yourself?
Yes, thank you very much, Michelle. Hi, I'm Joyce Selizik. I am a realtor and a managing broker for Coldwell Banker. And I like to think that my position is to provide clarity and a stress-free transaction for people entering or leaving the real estate market.
Thank you for being here, Joyce. We appreciate you. Miss Emily White, would you like to introduce yourself?
Absolutely. Thanks, Michelle. Hi, I'm Emily White, and I'm a property and holistic health coach, and I help you talk to the body, talk to couple items that we use daily. Like laundry detergent, shampoo, anything you can think of. and I help you swap clean ingredient items so that you can live a healthier and longer life.
All right. Thanks so much, Emily. Thank you for being with us today. I want to go ahead and introduce to you the founder and owner of the Best Ecosystem is Wanda Butler, who has spent years helping individuals navigate separation through a non-adversarial financial first approach. Wanda will guide today's conversation. So, Ms. Wanda, would you kindly introduce yourself and take it from here?
Thank you so much, Michelle. And I just want to say thank you to all of our panelists for being here today. I am Wanda Butler, and I'm the creator and founder of the Best Ecosystem. So if you haven't heard tell about the Best Ecosystem before, we are the first non-adversarial collaborative divorce process across North America. And we've been working very hard to help individuals to navigate that life transition in a more amicable, accessible, and affordable way. So if you're watching or listening today, then there's a good chance that you or someone you love is possibly going or facing that major life transition. So first, I want you to know something really important. You are no longer alone. We are here, and we are here to help and to serve. At the Best Ecosystem, we believe every woman, every person deserves access to trusted information before making major life transitions and decisions. Today's conversation is about telling you isn't about telling you what not to do. It's about asking better questions. It's about hearing from the professionals that are here with us today who genuinely care. And so we're going to help you replace fear with knowledge and help women feel empowered to make informed decisions with confidence. So let's begin. I've prepared 5 questions that are really thought-provoking and kind of emotionally charged. And so we're going to just share our experience and share some information. And so I'm going to throw out some questions, and I'd love to just solicit some information or some contribution from the panelists. So many women have spent years putting everyone else's needs first. When separation happens, what is the first financial step that you believe every woman should take to regain a sense of control and confidence?
I have an answer for that.
Go ahead, Lynn.
This is Lynn Lionhood, and I think the first thing they ought to do is get themselves a savings account and a checking account in a different financial institution than what they had been using in the past. And I think they really have to be very careful about not clearing out, the checking account or savings account that they had jointly. I think they need to be very careful about what they do. And that's why legal help would let them know what they can do and what they can't do so they don't get themselves in trouble. But I think that that's imperative for them to have something that now is theirs to deal with.
Wonderful. Can you add something a little bit about identity protection? Because that's one thing that comes up quite often when separating couples are dividing their assets, is one person's racking up credit card and stuff like that. Can you speak a little bit about that in Legal Shield?
I think it's extremely important for you to remember that one of the 3 people that are compromised in identity theft very strongly are children. So if there are children in a marriage, that becomes extremely important. And women tend to be the nurturers and want to protect that child. But a child is given a Social Security number now at birth, and they don't necessarily use it until they're 16 or 17 years old. So that is a treasure trove for identity thieves. And so you want to be very careful, because if they try to open an account or go off to get a job or go to college, a financial institution cannot open them an account if they've been compromised. So you must remember that both spouses have access to that child's Social Security number. And sometimes, depending upon the spouse, you have a spouse who has destroyed credit in their own name and nothing has been used in the other spouse's name, and they will take that number and they will go to town and start opening up accounts. So you need to be very, very careful and get yourself coverage immediately before you become a victim. And then once you do that, especially with Legal Shield, They will take care of everything with licensed investigators, and they will restore your credit to what it was. If you wait until you've become a victim, most places won't take you. Legal Shield will, but there will be a charge. So you don't want that to happen. So you must protect. Those are things you don't normally think about until it's too late. You need to think about it right away.
Great point. Joyce.
Hi. One of the things, and I know it's very contrary to the situation, you have to breathe. You just have to take that 2 minutes and breathe. Then put it in your mind that what your next steps are going to be, is going to be your job for the next month or so. You want to access information, and assess what is going on. And when I say assess, check your credit score right away. Take care of anything that is negative on it that you can. Ask for help. Just reach out and ask for help from those people who you know can help you. But bit by bit, look at it on a daily basis. Set 15 minutes aside for yourself and know what your options are going to be. Will you have access to any savings accounts? Will you have access to any like investment accounts? Check your options and work through the process. And be fair, because you want to be treated fairly throughout this process. So you need to be fair in your thinking conversely to someone else.
Absolutely. Ms. Elizabeth.
Oh, that was wonderful. Thank you so much for sharing that. This is such rich information. I've gone through this process a long time ago, and I wish I had had the support then. So, what I'd like to actually begin with is an emotional step. And just a thought is that before we make major financial decisions, especially when we're feeling like it's all on our shoulders, right? Create enough emotional safety that you're responding from being really clear in all of these steps that we're sharing today, rather than coming from a place of fear. Fear can put us in that space where we're making knee-jerk reactions, and we're saying and doing things, or we're talking about the situation we're in without really putting thought into it, because we're coming from this panic and fear. When we're overwhelmed, our nervous system narrows our ability to think clearly. So even just taking a moment for yourself during the day and just breathing before you make those financial choices. And you can ask yourself, just ask this question: what do I know to be true right now? Because sometimes we create
Good
these
point.
stories in our heads, right? What do I know to be true? And then our confidence, having confidence in going through this process. It takes time, it takes patience, but that confidence doesn't arrive before we take action. So just do one small thing that you can accomplish each day. And then that'll start to open up your ability to say, what else do I have to do? But do one step so that you don't get that overwhelm. And then make sure you acknowledge yourself, celebrate yourself, pat yourself on the back and say, I did this today.
I would tend to agree with Elizabeth. Take that one small step, just like Joyce said as well. One small step each day for yourself in what you're going to do in an action step towards the process. And I agree. I wish this was here when I did this 28 years ago, because I found myself having to be very methodical and think everything through one step at a time before I actually made the announcement that this is what was going to take place. So, what we have here at this ecosystem is very valuable to many people today. Ms. Lynn Linehood.
I forgot to tell you that I do think that they should also make a few minutes to put aside some key financial documents like copies of tax returns and some bank statements. If they have some of that stuff that they can keep a copy of, that would be a great starting point for them.
Absolutely. Absolutely. All right, Ms. Wanda, back to you.
Well, there's also something I wanted to add, and it kind of ties in with Carly and knowing what it costs to run your life. If you have even yourself or children that have special needs or have disabilities, and they require special care and other supports, not understanding what those expenses look like and then going through a separation situation could find yourself in a place where you lack the resources because you didn't know what it cost in order to be able to maintain that. So having a good understanding of what it costs to run your life, what you have coming in and what you have going out, and what circumstances are present in your life that need to be kind of factored into that, I think is really key, because so many people end up being very in a bad financial situation in that very first moment of that event. And so I just wanted to share. And I see Carly, please I know that you can add to that.
Yeah, it's very important to make sure that you know what's coming in, what's coming out. For example, if your partner is fighting, then and not willing to pay child support, then it's not good, and you need to either have a lawyer or have somebody like ourselves as the ecosystem, help.
Thank you for adding.
I'm sure that's a huge struggle, that many do not actually think about in the process. So another great step in the process, right, Wanda?
Absolutely. And it's about making sure that we don't have any gaps, right? And that's why we all came together. We have such a we'll say a variety of professionals for every single part of the process, so that individuals who are needing some emotional stability or even some disability advocacy, whatever it is, we want to be able to fill those gaps, right? And so it's fantastic.
All right. What's next for us, Wanda, that we can help everyone out here today with?
All right. So the next question: how can women begin preparing financially for separation if they fully don't understand their family's finances? They don't have access to all the information, or they've never even managed the finances before. How do we help them having that initial, I guess we'll say, financial literacy? And what should they do to begin preparing?
Go ahead, Lynn.
I made a little note when I saw that question, and I think it should be more like fact finding for them. They need to, I think the first thing they should do is check their credit report to find out what accounts they actually are on, maybe jointly. That's important to know. They need to start a little ledger, cash in, cash out, so they know where the money that they have is going. And they need to get a support team around them, maybe some attorneys, and they need to take some photographs of some of the bills that they've got so that they have records of all of that stuff.
That's really good. Diane?
Yes, I would like to suggest that you start with the end in mind. And the name of this group is Her Best Outcome. What is your best outcome? What does that look like? What does it look like for your child to have their best outcome through this adversarial process? How do we take it from being so adversarial to lesser because of the impact on the children? So if we start with the end in mind, and I love that Joyce said, breathe, and that Elizabeth provides such a calm structure around this, because that's where I know I flew into rage when I was going through this, because I could not believe that another individual that I had been so close to would act in this manner. We have to then have that moment in the closet and step out, breathe, keep the end in mind, and then take the steps that Lynn and others are talking about that lay out the logic of how to get from where I am or where I think I am to then where I know I am financially before decisions are made.
That's a
Absolutely.
great point, Diane. And I originally had picked a name. So this is so wonderful how all of our professionals are all on the same page of where we are. I had originally picked the name for my whole system, and it was called Ecravid. And Ecravid is the word divorce spelled backwards because it was starting from the ending and working back. So thanks for
That's really
validating
good.
that.
That's good.
But it ended up being Benny instead of Ecravid. I don't know, but thanks for adding that.
All right, Miss Seema.
So, as Lynn Landhood also pointed out, we need complete clarity on the financials. We need to know what the income, what the expenses will be, because many times the women in the household are not managing the finances, they're just managing the household. So, having complete clarity on income and expenses, the budget, because now they have to manage things on their own, not only for themselves, but for the children. So, it's very, very important to have complete financial clarity and take pictures. This is also something Lynn pointed out earlier, because I have seen that in case of a close friend of mine. She didn't have any bank statements. So when the spouse was away, she had to sneak into the office to get some pictures and all that done. So it's important to have complete financial clarity on bank statements, bank accounts. Just go to the bank if needed and declare that you are the spouse and you need more clarity on the accounts and what is there, because they try not to disclose it. So financial clarity is very important.
Very great point. And one question that constantly comes up almost immediately is, can I keep the family home? And so I want to throw it out there to realtors here now and say, what can somebody do if that's the question of the day and they really want to keep the family home? What can they do financially to assess that and make that a reality?
Go ahead, Joyce.
Well, first of all, go back to what we said at the beginning. You have to assess the situation, see what your income is. Can you make the mortgage payment as it currently stands? Are you in agreement with your soon-to-be ex-spouse or ex-spouse that this is the best situation for you and your family? Maybe you have children, maybe you don't. You have to have that upfront discussion before you can determine what best suits you and the rest of the family. Don't just because your children are 5 years old and that this is the only home they have known doesn't mean that it's necessarily the best situation for them either. If you're going to be struggling trying to get the mortgage payment in every month because your job isn't as lucrative as, your ex-spouse, then maybe you need to reassess that and say, well, there's a better place for us, or there's a different place for us. There's a place where we will have less stress and we will still be happy and we will still be a family and we'll still be close to everyone that we know, love, and our needs are met.
Love it. Love it. And Joyce, I want to also ask, like, one of the biggest conundrums is coming up with the value of the family home from a real estate perspective. If that is the key question, like, how much is the house worth? Any ideas or suggestions on how they can get an accurate value?
Oh, absolutely. Contact a neighborhood realtor who can come and just give you an overview of the value of your property. Now, it's not the same as an appraisal. An appraisal would be ordered by the mortgage company, which would determine exact value based on the amount of money that you are going to borrow on the property. But we call it a CMA, comparative market analysis, which indicates what we feel the value of the property is in the current market. One thing I caution people against, if you call me in January and I give you a comparative market analysis, don't expect that the value of the property that I determine it to be is going to be the same in August, because we've had 8 months activity since then and the market changes on a day-to-day basis.
Very true. That's a great point. That's a great point, Joyce.
And these CMAs are done for free. Any agent will do it for you, and you should not expect to pay for it.
And I believe that it's really important for individuals to have that CMA done as close to the separation date as possible, because otherwise it's really hard to go back and know what something was worth. Let's just say in August of 2021, and the couple have been separated for 5 years and no valuation was done. I often refer to that whole process as trying to take an ice cube out of water after it's melted. Is really difficult to get the value. So that's one recommendation I always make, is as close to the separation date as possible to get this information and to get these values. Otherwise, it just becomes more difficult.
And additionally, for your own information purposes, it's good to know what the value of your house is based on a professional giving you that information rather than some online service, because you also have insurance needs for your home and you want to make certain that your home is not underinsured.
That's another great point. Seema, you'd like to add something to that?
Yes, as a realtor, I also would like to add that they should reach out to a mortgage lender as well to assess their own affordability. And we have that support system in our ecosystem. So it's important to get their own affordability for the house, because they may want to stay there, but they may not be able to, as we have discussed. So it's important.
And they can provide the options, is what you're trying to say, the options of whether it's budget capable or if there's another option out there, is what you're trying to say.
Exactly. Yeah. How to figure that out, if the house is for them or not. Yeah.
I'm just clarifying for our new ones that have jumped in here to Facebook. Welcome to the ecosystem. We appreciate you being here. Make sure you're following us here each and every day as we continue to speak upon the first non-adversarial separation divorce ecosystem. So thank you for joining us. If you have questions along the way, please put your questions in the comments and we'll be more than happy to answer those. Ms. Wanda, what's your next question for the panel?
Some of our questions are very similar, so I'm going to skip over number 3 that I had prepared because it's similar to number 2. So I'm going to just jump to number 4 that I prepared. Separation isn't just a financial transition, it's an emotional one as well. And I've seen that all too often over the last 15 years of doing this work. So how can women, or even men in general, balance the emotional decisions they're facing with practical financial decisions that will shape their future?
Go ahead, Ms. Lynn.
Wanda, can I back you up for just 1 minute? Because I think there was something really important on question number 3. And I think there was some really important information there that I wanted to make sure, because I took some really good notes to speak to on that. I think it's not about what each spouse has to lose. It's about what they have the power to have control over. That's really important. I think it's not about unlimited money. That's not really the answer either. It's about, where do you actually stand? They need to figure out how to make smart choices, and they need to trust their ability to figure it all out. So I think there is something very important about figuring out what is your earning potential, figure out what your skills are, improve them if you've got skills that need improvement, because some women may have been out of the job market for a long time. And I think they need to get out and network with people so that they can start making some connections. But I think it's very important, and Seema could probably speak to this better. A lot of women will say, I will trade my share of a retirement account for the home. That's not necessarily always the best choice, because the home's going to have upkeep and things like that you may be struggling with. You're not thinking about further down the road. So that's an important decision that you need to make sure you've discussed. So I know I'm sorry to have to back you up, but I just think those were really important things That
No,
people
that's a
think about.
very valid conversation because that is definitely something that I faced in my process, of my first divorce. He wanted half my retirement.
See?
And, that's a real conversation, in the end. So, Seema, you have something to say?
We have to think long term, not
You do?
just immediate and short term. And a very good point, Lynn, that we cannot compromise on our future and our long term retirement because that will not be the right decision to make. Thank you.
Well, and let's be very fair here. Men need to think in the long term as well. It's
Sure.
not, even though we're speaking upon her best outcome in a separation and divorce process. Let's be very fair in the conversation. Men need to be thinking about their long-term capabilities as well. So again, to Lynn's point, if the man decides to stay in the home and the woman has decided, she doesn't want the home, she's moving on, he may be looking at some of those things that he could trade out, and maybe that's not in the best interest of where he should be. So, to be fair, all right, Wanda, go ahead on
Well,
on your next one.
I also want to add as well, all too often the fight for the family home tends to overlook that sometimes there might be a safety concern. And in situations of domestic partner violence, for example, sometimes maybe the last thing that you want to have is somebody to know your location. And so keeping the family home in that situation just basically makes you a sitting duck if there's not a safety component to it. So I want to also add, like, making financial and emotional decisions that are also based in safety.
Very true. Very true. Great point, Wanda. Great point. All right. Anyone
All
else have
right.
anything to add to the safety side of things? Ms. Elizabeth, go ahead.
Yeah, you all bring up such perfect points. You had asked Wanda, um, how can they deal with the emotional side of making these decisions, right? Because it really is, if you think about it, especially if you have children, that's what we were talking about, is not feeling safe, and that fear of not feeling safe, feeling like the ground is moving out from under you, and how do I control that? Sometimes we try and control things too much. And yes, you want to be able to have your steps in your process. But when we're holding on to these deep emotions, right, they can get trapped in there, they can get bottled up. So our minds will naturally try to predict the worst case scenario when we're afraid, right? There's nothing wrong with thinking, well, what could be the worst case? And then how do I make sure I have my everything covered? But we will often default to that. And then because that's coming from a place of fear. So that place of fear often feels like it's the truth when it really isn't. Right. So as you're building your financial practical knowledge, also pay attention to the emotional beliefs and think about, what are your emotional beliefs about money? And this comes from perhaps when you even met your spouse, or worthiness, right? Are you feeling like you're not worthy and you're just going to give everything over to the other spouse, right? That can direct us in making decisions that are not for our highest and best, your highest and best outcome, and the highest and best for the children, or even your fear of your ability to succeed. So I often say that our intense emotions also make excellent messengers, but sometimes poor decision makers. So when you allow yourself to feel the anger, the resentment, the confusion, the overwhelm, the frustration, all of these emotions that are just coming at you right and left, and you're like, what is going on? I wish I just had an umbrella to protect myself from this. And in a way, you do with My Best Outcome, because we're your umbrella, right? Is to help you with that step by step. Give yourself enough space to respond and feel the feelings. And then my last suggestion is, when you're really feeling these intense feelings, rather than letting make, control your and directing you from making the financial decisions, write down these feelings. Write, I am so angry. I am so upset. But don't just leave it there. Then take that, and if you shift yourself into more of a positive energy, that's going to serve you, your kids, the entire situation. It'll serve everyone to calm down. So I'm really angry. And then you can say, and I am shifting into empowering myself to learn about my finances. It feels good that I can learn about my finances. I hope that helps.
Oh, that was really good. Carly, go ahead.
So another good tip is sensation. So you wrap your arms around you and you hug yourself for 90 seconds and repeat three affirmations. I am safe. I am safe now. Now I am safe.
Oh, that's very good. And that is something, Carly, that many people do not think about is how can we self-soothe and give ourselves that confirmation that what we're doing is the right thing in the right way. So, Ms. Lynn Lionhood.
I think again, when we're talking about the emotional issues, this is a very emotional time. Everything's on the surface of your skin. You're thinking short term, you're not thinking long term, and I think that's bad. This is where I think Legal Shield can help them tremendously, because in the traditional way that we went through divorce, you would call the attorney and you would vent everything to the attorney. And all that time you're venting, the clock is ticking and the money is eating up enormous costs. And that's
Absolutely.
You have valuable amounts of money that you must kind of conserve, and you're blowing it all on just getting that information out. Legal Shield can stop that because you can talk to them 5 hours a day. There's no bill, so that's important. So I think too, the three biggest responses that I had seen was, I want to keep the house just because that makes everything stay so normal. Many times, if you're going to separate incomes, one person can't afford that home. That's where you need to liquidate the home and come up with a different housing option for each of them. So it's important that you not think about just, I want everything to stay the way it is. That may not be the best financially for you. I don't care. I just want to get out of this marriage as fast as possible. That's not always a good thing either. You're saying that because you're being emotional, but that's not a good choice, because then you give up your rights to a lot of important things that you will regret later. That you want to fight over every last little thing, like Aunt Mary's lounge chair. You're going to spend inordinate amount of time fighting over a chair. It's a chair that you're just emotionally attached to it. Let him take the toolbox, you take the chair. But finding a way to work that out is good. I think there should always be 24 to 48 hours to think about financial decisions, so you're making very, very good decisions. And I think that's it.
No, these are all very great points before I call on Joyce. Those are all things that people do not really consider. This is in a very emotionally charged time. And when we go into it with emotions, we sometimes come out on the other side where we really sit back and we go, I really didn't think this through. I did not, allow myself the time to really sit and believe and think. And you made a very valid point, sit for 48 hours, think about it before you make that decision. And I want to remind everyone, just from a personal experience, you are charged from the moment you call your lawyer and you're venting. My ex-husband knew very well that my lawyer was over $375 an hour. And for every time he created me to be emotionally charged, I would immediately call my lawyer and blow the steam off. And that was costing me $375 for every moment that I sent him to do something else to take care of in this, divorce. So be very mindful about that. That's why this is a great system for you to be able to come into and not rack up those lawyer bills in the process. So be very mindful of what we're saying today. Re-listen to this after we're done today, it's a great opportunity to just sit down and listen to everybody's thoughts and how they can help you in this ecosystem. Miss Joyce.
Oh, one thing I just want to add is give yourself grace to get through this. You are more than the anger and the emotion that you are feeling at the moment. You're a strong individual. You have goals, you have steps, and you have an ecosystem to help get through all of the tough times. You can do it. You will do it. And we're here to support you for that.
That is so good. Absolutely, Joyce. Thank you for sharing that. Ms. Wanda?
I want to also add one of the biggest, one of the most common emotions that a lot of people have shared with me as they're going through this life transition is uncertainty. And it is very, very hard for a lot of people to actually deal with that uncertainty. And so, and the finality and the grief that goes along with the final, with the finality of a relationship ending. And so as we embark and roll out this process, one common sentence that I tell individuals is, we help you have a loose tie on the solution. So when we do the work that we do and we help people to put forth like their settlement and stuff like that, it's never done with a sense of permanency, because that's what's caused a lot of the problem is permanency and things that cannot be divided, like a pet, for example. You can't cut the dog in half. So things that can't be divided tend to cause most of the conflict. So having a loose tie effect is giving them the ability to really explore over the next 6 months to a year during the separation time period and the cooling off period of whether or not there's a chance for reconciliation or not. Because if they do reconcile and they're together for 30 or 90 days or whatever, and they scrap the whole separation agreement, then what we've helped them put together can't be damaging to the couple in the future. And so that's why having this loose tie effect, so that we can untie it if they end up coming back together and there's no permanent damage. So I just wanted to share that's one of the ultimate pieces of what we're doing that is going to make all the difference.
And I want to elaborate just a little bit on the loose tie effect, because what you're referencing is the fact that when you do step into a lawyer's office, you're putting forward money from day one. And you come back in 90 days and you say, I don't think we want to do this. We think we want to come back together and we want to really make this work. You have lost that money to that lawyer. You're not getting that back. And what Wanda's trying to say is that when you come into the ecosystem, you have the capability of having something that can still move forward, even in the financial side, even in the health side. We have all the aspects capable to anyone who comes in, like Wanda's saying, come in, we get your finances together. Guess what? Who knows? That may be what was having the separation from the very beginning, was the whole financial situation. And you didn't know exactly how to navigate that. Or maybe there wasn't a conversation on the other side, right, Wanda? And then maybe now we've given them the opportunity to say, hey, this wasn't so bad after all. We could come back and take a look at this.
Absolutely. And it's not just walking into a lawyer's office, it's also walking into a courthouse. And when we're looking at 86% of self-representation in Oregon, for example, because those are the numbers, 86% people are choosing to go it alone through the court process. So when they walk in and they fill out paperwork and do all that kind of stuff and start a court process, that's not a loose tie, right? So our goal is to help them to avoid that, make court a last resort, and then just get all of that sorted first, and then go represent yourself if you have to for the things that are legal in nature. But for the financial aspect and all of that kind of stuff, it really isn't a loose tie effect when you decide that you can't figure out how you want to divide your stuff. So you need somebody from a judicial level to make that decision for you.
Very good. All right. Well, we are 14 minutes till the hour. If anyone has any questions, let's go ahead and get those answered. Go ahead and put those in the comments here on Facebook. We'll get those answered for you. In the meantime, before we have any questions come in, Wanda, did you have anything else that you wanted to offer to the panel today?
Well, I have just one last question, and I'm just going to say, looking back, what's one piece of advice that you wish every woman knew before beginning the separation process, and that can make their journey less stressful and lead to a better outcome?
Ms. Lynn Linehood.
I think they should not feel like they have to go through this in isolation and alone. And that's what you have built for them, Wanda. You have built them a support system of professionals who are not emotionally tied to what's going on. They can think straight and advise them well. So I think they don't have to have all the answers. All they have to know is who to lean on. And that's what you've already provided for them, somebody in every aspect of what's going to happen.
Oh, that's very true. Very, very well said, Lynn. Thank you so much. Ms. Diane.
Yes, most often we receive prominent red flags. They build up over time. These red flags build up, and we look at them as an isolated event. And then all of a sudden, we're looking at them as a whole book of offenses caused to us. And what I would like to suggest is that when those red flags pop up, and they're continuing, that is the time to start getting clear on who you are in this partnership and where you think it might be going. And that's the time to start learning about your finances. That's the time maybe you need an additional degree to be making more money if this does turn into a separation, divorce situation. There are so many things that we can do thinking of the best outcome for ourselves and for our children if we start being educated while we're seeing the yarn unravel instead of waiting until it turns into a full-blown emotional chaotic environment.
Absolutely. Ms. Elizabeth Maffei, sorry.
McFay, I love
I'm
that.
sorry. I apologize. I'm so sorry.
It's all good. It's all good. I love that too, Diane. I'm going to just say one word. It's trust, but what does that mean? I would say choose to trust yourself. Just because you don't have all the answers, just because you're in overwhelm, just because all of this is going on. I loved how you talked just a little while ago about, things could change and there could be a reconciliation, right? So when we're so attached to an outcome that we have created in our minds, then it doesn't allow us any other possibilities. So first of all, choose to trust yourself, choose to trust the people who you bring into your community to trust, the experts. Many on this panel who are sharing different things that perhaps you don't know. We all don't know everything. Trust yourself. And then through this, yes, it's painful. Yes, it's uncomfortable. Yes, it's different. But you don't have to wait until all of this is over, whatever the outcome is, to begin to heal. You can start healing through this and planning at the same time. And, perhaps the most important thing is this chapter, the way it's beginning, does not determine how your story ends. With the right emotional and practical support, you will and can become a stronger, more confident version of yourself. I believe that every experience in our life has an opportunity to shrink us or to grow us. And so if you look at it, well, okay, what am I learning from this today about myself? You're going to come out, whatever the result is at the end, a stronger, more confident person.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Miss Seema.
I would just like to add two things. Built up emotions cause major disasters. So we have to let emotions out as the things are carrying on. Don't let that happen because it can really blow up into a much bigger thing than it actually is. The second thing is to, as Elizabeth pointed out, Diane also pointed out a few things, we have to rely on our trusted friends and family and share with them so they can provide us the guidance and support as well, not just to rely on ourselves and make the decisions, keep going with the decisions. So have a trusted group of people around you to share with.
Yeah, a trusted group of people. I want to kind of tap in on that. Make sure you know that you do have a good, well-rounded trust of individuals that you put yourself with. You're going to always have those individuals who are going to be on your side no matter what, and they're going to feed into those emotions. So be aware of that and reach out to the ecosystem. Let our group of professionals again come in and guide you and bring forth that best way for you to actually walk into a better path, into that next chapter of where you're going. So, Ms. Wanda, would you like to go ahead and close us out as we are at almost the top of the hour?
I will, but very quickly, I just wanted to add roughly around a decade ago, I created a word that I believe needs to be put into Webster's dictionary. And the word is called relief. And I'll tell you what it means. It became obvious to me that you can be going through emotions, many different emotions at the same time. And you can be facing financial devastation and be going through a lot of financial challenges at the same time of losing a loved one. And about a decade ago, it had nothing to do with divorce. It was actually the passing of a client that I was working with at the time in the finance industry. And I remember that the spouse who was remaining had some very strong financial challenges and was left holding the bag, we'll say, on a very nasty financial situation. Didn't realize that the person actually had life insurance. And so when I actually handed them the check, the life insurance, and told them that there was a sum there, it was a combination of grief, but relief at the same time. And I could see their face change. The second time that I noticed this word relief was when I was working with somebody and we were doing our first virtual meeting. It was a separation situation. And at the beginning of the virtual meeting, I can always tell that somebody is stressed by the shape of their eyes. And when somebody is frantic and have a lot of stress on them, their eyes tend to be rounder. I don't know if there's any truth to it, but I can usually pick up on it. I picked up on it right away today, didn't I, Michelle?
You did. You did.
But the shape of the eyes tell me something. And so I had this individual going through separation and their eyes were as round as a toonie, right? And at the end of the call, their eyes were more oval shaped and more kind of slanted shape. And I could see the sense of relief. And it was a relief with the question, am I financially going to be okay? And so our goal as the best ecosystem is to be spreading this relief like lotion so that we can help individuals be okay. And so that's the closing I wanted to leave everyone with is let us help you find relief. And if you are facing separation and going through this, or somebody you know and love is going through it, visit mybestoutcome.com. It's a simple registration. You can pick your swim lane, male, female, or emergency responder, military. We have 3 lanes. So visit us at mybestoutcome.com. But join us tomorrow for Steady Man, Ready Man as we tackle these same questions from the male perspective. Thank you, everybody, today, the panelists. You guys are incredible human beings, and I'm so proud to be a part of this ecosystem. So thank you for being part of this today.
Thank you, Wanda.
Thank you, everyone, for joining us today on Facebook. We'll be back tomorrow with our male version of today. So Steady Man, Ready Man will be with us tomorrow morning, 11 a.m. Central, 12 p.m. on the East Coast. Have a great day, everyone.
Bye-bye.
I was so
All right.
impressed. I felt like a proud mom. I knew all of you.